So, Critical Role Campaign 3, Episode 2. This is my review of said episode. Um, this isn't relevant to anybody watching this, but I've tried recording this a couple of times, and every time something has happened. First time, my oven timer went off. Second time, I've recorded the whole thing, and I reviewed the video, and the footage was crap. The camera was just stuttering and being terrible. And I realized the light's off. Now the lighting's better. Keeping that in. Bugger that. So yeah. This is my third attempt at recording. If this goes poorly, I'm just going to abandon it and bugger it because I'm not recording this again. So if you see this mini rant, please let me know, anybody out there who watched this, why OBS would decide to just stutter videos. When the preview that I'm looking at right now on screen as I talk to you, the preview looks fine. There's no stuttering. It looks fine. It moves fine. It's only when I review the video afterwards that it stutters. If anyone's had that issue, please let me know because it's very annoying. It's happened a couple of times. You can actually see it in my previous video on the channel and a few other previous videos. There's a little bit of stuttering at times. I don't know why. So if anyone's encountered that, please let me know. But back to the topic at hand. Campaign 3, Episode 2. As per my previous video, I'm going to do a few minutes initially that are spoiler free, so anybody can watch it and just go, okay, yep, so you know there's no spoilers for that episode. In the episode, when I go into the spoiler territory, everything is fair game, so I will spoil the content of the episode that I'm reviewing and previous episodes and possibly previous campaigns. So spoiler free means spoiler free. If there's a spoiler for a previous campaign or an episode in there, I apologize. But spoiler free refers to the episode I'm talking about. So in this case, that's Campaign 3, Episode 2. But once again, in the spoiler territory, everything's fair game. So consider yourself warned. So, spoiler free reviews. If you've seen Episode 1, you know how that ended. Episode 2 just carries on directly. That was a really interesting bit of combat. We saw some pretty good usage. Everybody using their stuff really interestingly. I also like that we see the continuation of Dorian, the bard, carrying on using melee weapons. Because as I didn't realize this. I looked at their stats during the episode. Dorian's strength is 17. I think it's the same as his charisma is also something going, that man rolled really well in stats and put it into strength. He's a buff bard. That's a scary thought. So it's like, oh yeah, I could use my spell slots, or I could use my axe or my sickle, which is interesting. Okay, you're actually using, okay. So he's a buff bard, which I really like. The combat was really fun. Combat was fun. Then we get some nice role-playing moments. Characters, again, I just love the characters. The characters starting to sort of show themselves, and you start to see the personalities come out. The backstory starting to come through, which I'll get more into in the spoiler territory. And then we get more about how Critical Role is such... How the players for Critical Role are just so good at their job. They're just so good. They're really good D&D players, and you can tell that. Because it's like the start of a campaign, these characters don't know each other, and that's done really well. And you can tell that you can actually tell that they're trying that these characters don't know each other, despite the fact that the people playing them have known each other for decades at this point. Some of them, I imagine, a couple of decades. Some of these people have known each other, and having to pretend like you haven't known someone for that long, that's difficult, and they do it really well. Again, I don't have anything bad to say at the moment. I may have something bad to say in the future. I may have criticisms in future episodes. I don't know. Critical Roles, generally, for me, it's done very well. If I don't like a certain episode, for some reason, I'll probably come on here and tell you guys that, I didn't like this, or this. That's probably more going to be in the spoiler territory. The episodes as a whole, I don't think I've ever disliked an episode. There are certain parts of episodes I will like more than others, but yeah, on the whole, very good episode. I don't have any complaints or any of those observations. So yeah, I think we're good. Another very good episode. Again, if you haven't watched, if you have not got into campaigns of Critical Role at all, I highly recommend it, and I would advise anybody to watch it. I mean, if you like D&D, I could just recommend, please go and watch it. You're into D&D, this is very good. Even if you're not into Dungeons and Dragons and you're looking for something that has a lot, and I mean a lot of runtime to it. There's 2 campaigns. So at the moment, finished, you have 2, not counting one shot, you have 2 campaigns with, I think, 250 odd episodes across the 2 campaigns, with an average run time of like 3.5 to 4 hours. So we've got like, what, 1,000 hours ish of just the campaigns. So yeah, if you're looking for something to get into, if you do a lot of driving, a lot of commuting, if you want a good podcast, because they're in podcast form, if you want a good podcast, I can highly recommend those as a good podcast. That's 1,000 hours. I think that would last you a good while if you're commuting in work or whatever. There you go. It's 1,000 hours of content. Sounds daunting. It's really good. Really worth it. Slight warning. Start of the first 30 episodes of campaign 1, the first 20 odd episodes, 20 to 30 episodes, the audio is a bit sketchy. The audio is not great in the first few episodes. But then again, that was the start of the streaming. They're figuring things out. After episode, I'm going to say episode 30, when they get to the Whitestone arc, which you'll know when you watch campaign 1 when you get there. From that point on, the audio significantly improves. Before that, it's a bit sketchy. But after that, it's fine. Just a slight warning if you're getting into it. But again, this episode, another really good episode. We're learning more about the characters, learning more about the world. Really enjoying it. So I'm going to call it here. This is the end of the spoilers, spoiler-free zone. So if you're trying to avoid spoilers, and if you've avoided them so far, well, congratulations, you've avoided spoilers for Critical Role from Thursday. You've done a remarkable job. Go ahead and roll with advantage for the rest of your day. Take this Dungeon Master inspiration and roll with it. But yeah, this is the end of the spoilers, and the spoiler free, so this is your warning. Are you gone? Spoilers coming up. Oh, campaign 1 callbacks. Oh boy. Yeah, that's how I start this off. Is just the sheer amount of campaign 1 callbacks that they're already doing. Right? I mean, I mentioned it in the review of episode 1. Episode they just went even further. When we had Pate de Rolo from Whitestone, from Laudna, as a little rat puppet thing, which is really fun. It's a really cute character thing. It's a little rat puppet, which is fun as hell to see. I called it Pate de Rolo, and then Orem/Liam's reaction to the de Rolo name, going, "Do you know the de Rolos? What do you know about the de Rolos? Where are you coming from?" And Laudna basically going, "Oh yeah, they were in Whitestone, but there was a coup and they were overthrown. But they came back. Did they? Oh, I have no idea." So, just a little campy 1 callbacks like that. Oh, the Durolos have come back, and oh yes. And then Bertrand Bell pipes up going, "Oh, do you know the Durolos? How do you know the Durolos, Orem?" "Well, I'm no Keyless from the Irishari." "How do you know the Irishari?" "Because that's where I'm from." Really fun. Yes, I love the little campaign 1 callbacks, the sort of the world building, sort of taking campaign 1 and just using that as a little stepping stone to build campaign 3. As I said previously, it could also be hype for Legend of Vox Machina. I'm not mad about that. I'm perfectly fine with them building hype for their animated series. I wouldn't be surprised if this was double-edged. It was A, character stuff, and B, hype for Legend of Vox Machina. But I don't care. I'm enjoying it. And then the combat, right at the kicking the episode off with the combat, which is a continuation of episode 1, funnily enough. I'm really looking forward to Crit Role Stats putting out their interpretation of whatever the feck Lord Esteros was. Because, unless I'm remembering this wrong, we saw a bonus action dash, which to me is rogue/monk. And we also had we had more than 2 attacks, which to me says fighter. Now, he could be a monk, It could just be a low. It could be, which says high level fighter if it's 3 attacks. It could be low level fighter using 2 attacks and then a third bonus action offhand attack. But it's all with the cane, so it's just with a single weapon, which makes me think high level fighter. But the bonus action dash is a monk or rogue. So he's whatever Lord Esros was. There could be some rogue monk multi-class going on in there. People who are more into D&D than me will probably already know what the hell that is. But there's some sort of fighter, monk, rogue multi-class going on there. Really interesting. I'm really looking forward to seeing more of him. And as things stand, I think we're going to see a lot more of him, given where the party have gone down this path of him, early game. Okay, here is one person that we keep going back to for quests to keep sending us off to go fight evil and do the right thing. That's really interesting. It's very nice early D&D stuff. Sort of helps build the world. They sort of go out and do things and do quests, and then maybe we'll eventually figure out what the hell actually happened in episode 1 to animate all those objects to make them start attacking people. I'm sure that'll come up, and whether or not that's tied in to what we saw in episode 2, which again, this is spoiler territory, investigating the warehouse investigation of finding the broomstone, whatever you call it, which is what makes the airships fly, which was what was used to make the Mageocracy cities fly. It was like Aor, Draconia, those big flying cities. So they found that stuff already. Now I don't know what that is going to be used for. I'm sure there's plenty of uses for it, but all I know is that that's used to make cities fly. Now, I'm sure in the world of D&D, there's a lot more you can do with something that powerful, that much arcane energy can be funneled to something else. So is it some sort of batteries? So is it some sort of a battery type thing? I don't know. And I'm not gonna lie, when the first time when Oren was digging around and found that stuff, and then there was it's described as a gravel. My first thought was, is that Sood? Is there some sort of drug smuggling thing going on here? And then Fresh Cut Grass comes in and goes, oh no, that's Broomstone. I'm like, oh okay, well there goes my theories. And also, I do like how I watch the episode, form a theory, and then it gets shot on. Like the show just goes, nah, you're wrong. Because I initially thought that Laudna was going to be related to Percy or Vex, like was going to be a kid, like Vesper or something. But I'm happy that she's not. Because she told her backstory came out, oh no, I left Whitestone when the Barwood showed up. So we know that's decades ago. Which means that Laudna is 50s? In her 50s at least, because the campaign 1 was 30-something years before campaign 3. There's a 30-year time gap. And then for her to leave Whitestone, she didn't mention leaving with parents. I think that would have come up if she'd left with her family. So she's somewhere between in her mid-30s and 50s, at least. Mid-30s to mid-50s. Because to just leave somewhere by yourself and set off and live by that's, to me, says you're in your teens at least. So Laud is somewhere in that range. Not that that makes any difference. The character, just my theories on how old she is. Just an observation. Doesn't mean anything. But here we are. And then the continuation of the AXU Exandria Unlimited casts fuckery, including Fern's mild kleptomania. I'm going to steal these things. And just being the chaotic force that she is. Fern / Ashley Johnson. The lines are getting a bit blurry. I'm going to try to steal something. Fails miserably. Let's try to steal from my employer. This guy doesn't know us from Adam or Eve. Please stop trying to steal from him. You're going to ruin this. And then, I'm sorry, this is quite rambly, but, And then we get Taliesin and learning a bit more about Ashton and his subclass, which I think Matt came out at some point and confirmed that both Ashton and Fresh Cut Grass are custom subclasses. Path of Primal Chaos and whatever Fresh Cut Grass is. This sympathetic binding. But we did see Taliesin in the episode talk about how he has X number of rages as a low-level barbarian, but he can do different things with rage. He can pick a different rage, because we've seen two so far. We've seen in episode 1 his gravity well. I think that's what it's called, gravity well. Means hostile creatures within a certain radius of him have disadvantage on attacks or can't move as well, which is a really fun thing to do as a barbarian, is to stop the other enemies moving and attacking. And the temporal thing that he did in the last episode against Lord Esteros, as he gets, obviously as he levels up, the DC to saving these things is going to get higher. That's going to make combat really good, really fun for the party. It's also going to make Matt I imagine Matt's going to get frustrated if he tries to throw something interesting against the party, and the subclass that he helped create knackers his thing, because it's some sort of an ability. It's a thing you save against. So a legendary creature might have to burn a legendary resistance to get away from whatever Taliesin has created, and that's a passive thing for. I mean, you as a barbarian, yes, you use a rage to go into a rage. You use your rage. But it seems to me that the effect that he has just happens with the rage. So like a passive thing. So having a passive thing that you rage as a bonus action, and then just having this effect that is up for the duration of the rage, and having it cause a creature to have to make a save. If you're a legendary creature and you roll low, you might need to use burn a legendary resistance to save against it. So for when we get into the legendary territory, that could be really fun. That could be really useful in combat. And then also going back to my roleplay thing and appraising the cast of Critical Role and Matt as well for when you're just taught, when you're in early game, it's the party don't know each other, despite the fact that the players do. And then the party doing things like a player using an ability that to them is normal, but to everyone else, they haven't a clue. So, for example, Imogen using her telepathy to speak to Orym in Fresh Cut Grass, and then Matt going, "Hang on, have you done this before?" And he's like, "No, I haven't done this before." And then Matt giving Orym and Fresh Cut Grass guidance to say, "You suddenly hear her voice in your head and you don't know why." So, yes, they live in a world where there's magic and arcana, but when someone speaks in your head, that's going to be freaky no matter what's going on. Someone suddenly in your head speaking, you don't know why, of course you're going to be freaked out. Again, just Matt and the players being a good DM and good players and role-playing correctly. And also poor Orym being stuck in the dark warehouse and the rest of the party doing creepy whispers and speaking to him and banging on doors and causing Orym to be left in the dark, scared shitless, not knowing what's going on. I feel so sorry for that poor halfling. Oh. Yeah, I'm really enjoying the cast, the roleplay, and the combat. I don't have anything bad to say at the moment. If I do have something bad to say in future episodes, this is where it'll come out. It's where I might critique something that happens. For example, I'll give you an example of that as sort of a thing. I didn't notice this at the time. I noticed it after the fact when people talked about it. But in the Vox Machina Mighty 9 Battle Royale that we had, at one point, Vax has his famous Boots of Haste, which is used to zip around the map like a black lightning bolt. And Jester dispelled the haste. Now, I'm not saying Jester wouldn't recognize the haste spell. She fought alongside Caleb, who cast haste, so she would know what haste looks like. So she could potentially go, "Oh yes, I recognize the haste spell." But using dispel, you would need to know that the haste spell has been. Yeah, you would know the haste spell has been cast, but you wouldn't know what to target. Honest. See that's where the kind of the blade is, because like obviously Laura knows Liam's character has the Boots of Haste, The Jester doesn't know this guy's Boots of Haste. She might recognize the haste spell, but she doesn't know what's casting it. Like, has someone cast a spell on him? Has he cast the spell himself? Is there some sort of wizardry going on with this rogue? Is it a scroll? So that's the kind of thing that I noticed. At the time I didn't think about it, and I saw it afterwards, and I was like, "Oh yeah, hang on, how would she know?" So I think that's kind of come up before anyway, and the people have talked about that. But that's the kind of criticisms that I'll probably be talking about if something like that comes up, and I notice it at the time. I can always miss things, see things later on down the line, and then I'll come back to them. So I could, by the time we get to episode 4, it's like episode 3, 4, 5, whatever. And then I spot something and someone's talking about, oh, in episode 2, 3, they did this. Then I might come back and say to you guys, oh yeah, by the way, this happened. So, but so far, everything's good. Really enjoying it. No complaints. Highly recommend watching it. And the episode goes out on YouTube tonight. This is going up obviously before that. So this is really more for the people who've seen this, either watch the stream live or have it on Twitch. But I'm really enjoying this. I'm enjoying doing this, having been able to sit and talk like this to, like-minded people and go, oh yeah, this is my thoughts on the episode. I'm really enjoying this. I hope you are as well. And yeah, I don't have anything else. I can't really think of anything else to talk about in the episode. Nothing. No, I'm going to edit here before I get too rambly. He says, after rambling for 20 odd minutes. Anyway, really enjoying this. Hoping you guys are as well. And until next time, adventurers and critters, see ya.